Hello, welcome to the Trailhead. My name is Laura McCabe, and I am the brand manager for Sowell Management. It is my privilege to be the producer for today's Trailhead Thursday webinar. I'd like to handle a few housekeeping items, and then I'm going to pass the program along to our president at Sowell, Daryl Seaton. The webinar will be recorded today. The replay link will be emailed to both registrants and attendees. The webinar will also be available on demand on the Zoom platform, which means you can use the link that you used today to get onto the webinar to view it later. So several ways to get it. And you should expect a follow-up email, and it will include a flyer for your use. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Daryl Seaton.
Thank you very much, Laura, and good afternoon, everybody, except for on the West Coast. I'll say good morning to you, but it is really great to have all of you today. We thank you in advance for your time and participation in this webinar to launch Sowell Insurance Services, which we've been working on for quite a while. Some of you I know very well on here, so it's good to see you pop in our advisor community. And you certainly know my background in insurance already. I got my start in this industry with a little company called New York Life, spent 13 years with them, and have certainly incorporated it into my business as an advisor over the years. And we have talked about adding this service and this platform to the Sowell Management platform for quite some time. We wanted to be very intentional and deliberate about how we do it. And as we do with anything, we looked high and low for what we felt like would be the very best fit here. And so through a number of relationships, introductions, and then trips out to Raleigh to visit Griffin Distribution Partners and Sean and Teresa, who we had dinner with, and we got to meet the rest of the team. We've been extremely impressed, but there were a number of things that were high on our radar and were must-haves for us in looking for a partner to launch Sowell Insurance Services with. Number one, and none of you will be surprised by this, but we certainly put relationships and partnerships first in everything we do. That's true with all of you advisors that are part of our advisor community on this call. But in addition, we really don't have vendors. We have partners. And this is such a critical piece of planning, and incorporating insurance into the recommendations you make to client is so critical that we get it right. We wanted to make sure that we had someone that matched that in our DNA, and we absolutely found that in Griffin Distribution Partners and the people that are a part of that company. So in fact, if you go on their website, you'll see it right off on the header. It just, relationships matter. And that caught our attention. It was true when we were in person with them. And that's a must-have for us here at Sowell. The second, of course, is extremely important. They have to have the expertise and knowledge. They can be great people and be value partnership, but they have to have the expertise, knowledge, experience to work with our advisor community and the varied insurance needs that you will bring to us over the years to come. We wanted to make sure that you got the very best advice, and that they worked in a consultative fashion. In other words, this isn't a high pressure, high product push sale. We work consultatively with our clients. We need someone in this arena that will work consultatively with us so that we can offer the very best product and services in the insurance space to our clients. So that was number two. Number three, we needed someone that had the infrastructure to support not only underwriting, the introduction of new cases, underwriting, case design, all the technology that goes with it, and then of course servicing of contracts once they're in place. So those were three very high items that we were just inspecting for. There were a number of other things, of course, not the least of which is that we needed to have access, right, to a wide breadth of product. And you'll hear Sean and crew really present today on the life insurance, disability, long-term care, and annuity breadth of product that we have access to from Sowell Insurance Services. So all of that's got to be there. And then, of course, we wanted to make sure that you guys had highest payouts possible within the industry, given your tiers of production. So all of that's critical and more. But just as a brief introduction, before I introduce Sean Shea, who is the founder and president of Griffin Distribution Partners, I know Laura mentioned it, but please ask your questions in the Q&A. Down at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A box. Please ask your questions in there. We'll be monitoring those throughout. When there's an appropriate time to pause and answer that question, we'll get to it as quickly as we can. If there's a lot of questions, we'll try to get to as many as we can within the time frame that we have. We will end on time out of respect for you. But please enter those questions in the Q&A down at the bottom of your screen or wherever that's located in your Zoom box there. So we'll look forward to getting into that. So without further ado, again, I'll say thank you for joining us today. And thank you to the Griffin Distribution Partner team that are on this webinar today. We appreciate you all and the work that we've done together to get to this point. So it's a very exciting day. Sean Shea, he is the founder and president of Griffin Distribution Partners. I will turn it over to you to introduce the rest of your team and provide the content for the webinar. Thanks again, Sean, for being with us today.
Darryl, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. And we feel lucky to be part of this new partnership with Sowell Insurance Services. We're excited about it. On the call today, we have Frank Johnson, who's our Chief Marketing Officer. Frank offices up in New York, so we can keep the northern accent going. His is gone, but mine will probably never leave. It works out well. We have Teresa Shea. Teresa's our Chief Operations Officer. Teresa will be the person that a lot of you folks will interact with we have a situation, what do we do with it? David Hanson is also on the call with us today. David's our case design, part of our case design team. He leads that team. That's for life insurance and annuities. Several other members are not on the call today, but a couple of them are listening, and all are looking forward to kicking off this partnership. I'm going to share my screen here so we can go into the presentation we prepared. Darryl, can you see that? Is that up and running?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, initial screen here is just to introduce Sowell Insurance Services and Griffin Distribution Partners. As Darryl said, we've worked for probably the last 6 or 7 months going through and talking about what was most important. We at Griffin believe that relationships are most important and not really about, particularly processing and different items, but to be able to talk with you folks and be able to understand your business. All of the design team are registered investment advisors. Both Teresa and Frank are CFPs. Frank and I have 30 plus years of experience in the space, along with leading teams in financial planning capabilities. So for us, the language that you speak is familiar to us. So we speak those same words and we understand those same items.
Hey, Sean, can you make that full screen?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, let's.
Because a question as well.
It says use slideshow button up at the top. That should do the trick.
Let's see.
To the left.
Left.
Use slideshow.
There we go. All right.
Yes. Very
And
good.
I pride myself on being the technology person, so it's been a day. The relationship has a couple of different aspects to it. The reality is that Griffin, being a Libra partner, allows us to have access to pretty much the best of what's out in the industry. What we do in the landscape of protection products changes. Years ago, it would be every 3 to 6 to 8 years, there'd be a major change. Then it became once a year. And the environment we're in today is the reality is that the products and the offerings are changing almost on a monthly basis. Some of it is regulatory driven. A lot of it is competitive driven, focused by different carriers. So we see that information in real time. We're getting it as it's happening. We're digesting it. So you don't have to be that expert on the protection side of the financial plan. we're able to give you those capabilities. These are just some of the carriers, the primary carriers that we interact with. We have top contracts with almost everyone that's worth doing business with. There are carriers out there that are not rated the way we like it and maybe in a bit of a situation, and we'll communicate that. In our experiences, lots of different carriers have time where things just aren't going well. So it's important to know it isn't about price. It isn't about just the name of the carrier. It's about getting the proper solution to the client, but also being able to get the policy out and being able to get to the underwriting process. I'm going to have Frank jump in here and introduce the members of the initial sales team and the advanced sales team.
Thanks, Sean. And afternoon, everybody. Appreciate you guys having us on. Obviously, we're looking forward to working with you and the new relationship we have with Sal. So thank you very much. As Sean had mentioned, I'm up in New York, so I am the New York contingency of Griffin. Just a quick background on our team here. So a background first on Sean and I. Sean and I go back, as he mentioned, 25, almost 30 years at this point. We ran a prudential agency up in New York for many, many years. And part of that was a fee-based financial planning channel. So we've been in this space working with financial advisors, working with the insurance solutions and the protection side of it for our entire career. Obviously, this is what we do. Sean moved on to run an agency out in Texas. I stayed up in New York because this is home for me. And then here we are. We put the team back together a few years ago, and we created Griffin. So Sean, as a principal in agencies for many years and as a top producer, has the experience on both sides of it. So running an agency and being a top producer inside the industry. Myself personally, after Sean and I broke away, I was a financial advisor myself inside of a number of banks in New York City, and then moved on to carrier wholesaler position where with 4 different carriers over almost 20 years, supported financial financial advisors on a point of sale capacity. So most of the major institutions that you would be familiar with up in the New York City area and the metro portion as well, I supported. So day to day was out in the field working with financial advisors with protection solutions that were primarily focused on wealth management, probably a lot like yourself. So we absolutely understand and know, on a day-to-day basis, what you do, how you do it, and what you're going through is what we've been doing. So, and then lastly, a really important and valuable part of our team, Anna Marie. Anna Marie, unfortunately, she's on the call, but she's off camera right now as a JD, an attorney, and also a CPA, non-practicing, but with a CPA license. Anna Marie has the experience on the legal side, and she's currently litigating a case off camera, so she had to turn off for a second. The tax aspect of it, which is extremely important, obviously, in complicated large cases, and then obviously the insurance experience. It's very rare that you marry all 3 of those together, and when you do, that's a really valuable person to have on the team, someone that can see the protection piece on the financial side, and then the tax implications and the legal part as well. So we're really fortunate to have Anna Marie on the team. Sean, next slide. And with that, I will turn it over to the head of our operations, Teresa Shea. I think you're on mute, Teresa.
Trying to unmute. Sorry about that. I'm Teresa Shea. I'm the head of operations here at Griffin. My team handles all of the contracting, processing the new business, and the underwriting piece. We're very excited about the partnership, and we look forward to what's coming next.
Thank you, Teresa. The team in whole has worked together for over 20 years interactively. So this is, although Griffin is a new organization, this team has worked together for many, many years. I'll give you a little insight on the capabilities we have in the underwriting side. Life insurance, the big hurdle, and you all probably know this, the big hurdle of getting life insurance is if you're not 25 and healthy and running marathons, there's some bit of history that's going to come out that may be positive or negative in your situation. We take all of that information seriously. It isn't about that commercial at 2 o'clock in the morning where you can buy insurance for $3, per thousand per se. And when everyone goes on, they find out that rate doesn't really exist. Those are for the people that have no medication, no medical issues at all. But for the majority of the wealthy individuals, which are a little bit older in age, you find yourself having to go through pretty significant underwriting capabilities. To that end, Teresa's the first line of defense in getting the information sorted and right with the carrier. If it's a little more complicated than that, we take it to Heather. Heather is a 25-year experienced underwriter, but also has contacts on all of the carriers, along with Libra. So she could package the information up and get it out in a favorable light. We're not changing any information. We're just describing it in a way that is conducive with us moving forward. If and when we need backup on a particular item, specifically, most recently, EKGs being interpreted by computers as opposed to people, Dr. Frank comes in and will say, that doesn't make any sense. This is not what it is. It really is something different. And we've had many situations changed just by the fact that these two individuals are kind of on our side providing that. Both of these are Libra-centric proprietary items. They're not out in the general population. So this is something that Sowell is bringing to you all with our relationship with Sowell. Frank, I'll let you take proprietary products.
Thank you. Before we go any further, I just wanted to make another introduction as well. On the call as well is David Hansen. David is our case design person, our full-time case design, an internal person, if you will. So David, as you see, is diligently working the whole time. You know, and basically what David's doing on a day-to-day basis, 24/7, is running illustrations, researching products, and solving solves, if you will, right? So as we're going through products, and sometimes cases will come direct to me or Sean, and we'll beat it off to David. David will actually be the kind of the wizard behind the curtain, if you will, actually putting the numbers together and bring it back to us for a presentation. So David, just give us a wave real quick so everyone knows that David's out there as well. Thank you. All right, proprietary products. I think proprietary products and proprietary resources kind of fall into the same category here. So before we run through this, I just wanted, Sean had mentioned before Libra, that we're a member of Libra. I just wanted to explain what that is. I think sometimes we just assume everybody understands what that is, and it's kind of industry jargon for us, if you will. So Griffin is an insurance general agency. We have contracts with all the carriers that you saw on the previous screen, them and many of the other carriers that aren't on that screen. And as a result of what we do, or what it allows us to do as an insurance general agent, is we've pooled with other insurance general agencies, if you will, and joined an organization called Libra. Libra, essentially, for someone on the outside, almost looks like a union, if you will, for insurance general agencies. It's not a union, but it kind of looks like that as from the outside in. And what it does, though, is it allows us to aggregate contracts, experiences, volume, premium, all together, and it leverages our relationships with the carriers. And that's the most important part of it. By creating this overarching organization that we're a part of, it creates tremendous leverage with the insurance carriers out there. And as a result of the leverage between premium and experience and everything else, they offer us unique products and underwriting platforms and a number of other things on this page. So what does that really mean? So as a result of the tremendous amount of volume that we and the other parts of the organization, the other 100 members, if you will, drive, there are offerings out there available to Griffin that aren't available to some of the other organizations that may be out on the street vying for your business as well. So that comes down to products and services as well. So there are things available to us that aren't available to some of the other organizations that are on the street that aren't part of a giant conglomerate like we are. LifeMark Reinsurance, and this is one of those things. We have an agreement or a partnership with a reinsurance carrier program out there. And what does that do? When an insurance company has a risk that may be more that they want to take on, they put it outside to another insurance carrier in terms of reinsurance. It allows them to kind of mitigate some of the risk, if you will, and sometimes control pricing. Again, it comes with volume, and that's what we get for being a part of Libra. The quick quote platform, say that 3 times fast. The quick quote platform is another one of the resources that we have available to us. So we use this on a regular basis. Very often someone will bring a case to us where there is many or multiple or some medical impairments, surgeries in the past, medical history, prescriptions that to take in, a number of prescriptions. And when we're designing a case, Sean myself, David, when we're trying to put it together, the first thing we need to do is pick a health class. The health class determines the pricing. We don't know what it's going to be for the client until it actually goes through underwriting. So the objective is to try to get it as close as we possibly can in the beginning, so that the number that we arrive with at the end as an actual offer is very, very close to what we present to the client in the first place, and we don't have to backtrack. So we don't want to provide them or show them, preferable pricing and then have it get increased as a result of their medical condition. So what Quick Quote does is allows us to put together a brief summary of the individual that's not invasive. It's just basically the facts, what we know, send it through our Quick Quote platform. And this would be on Teresa's side, send it to the platform, and it basically goes out to all the carriers, and the carriers will review it. Their underwriting teams review it, and they come back and they say, based on the information you provided, here's what we think this might look like. We would need this, this, and this. So it's kind of like a pre-underwriting, a medical underwriting tool that we use that becomes very, very powerful in us to get as close as possible when we're trying to create or help you create an offer for the client. And then the last part is the IntelliSheets. This is, again, a tool that we have at our disposal. The IntelliSheets are basically all the facts from all the carriers in a database that we can do a search function for. So we want to look up which carriers have a second to die contract in New York or not in New York that has LTC tied to it. We can go in and look at it. Which ones are reimbursement versus indemnity? And we can go in and pull information, very specific information about just the carriers that have that. So we're able to drill down, and get really, really comprehensive information, more than you probably ever need, on all the carriers, the products and services that we provide.
Great. Thank you, Frank. So one of the things that we'll probably have to provide everyone down the road is a little book of all the little acronyms and short little words that we use on a day-to-day basis. LTC is long-term care, because I'm famous for using those little acronyms that everyone's supposed to know. So this page is giving us a little bit more of what Quick Quote is. And the point here is that this is all done behind the scenes. This is not something that you're involved in an active basis. You give us the information, we take it, we go to work, we Quick Quote it first. We don't like what we see, we take it. The second part of the slide is RGA, which is another reinsurance firm that'll take a look at it before it actually goes to submission to a carrier. These might just sound like words to most of you because it's not what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, but I promise you that out in the insurance industry on the protection side, these items are really super, super powerful and very, very valuable. This is what makes the difference between you talking to your client and giving them bad advice or information because you didn't have all the information, as opposed to being able to get them the best possible offer for what they're trying to accomplish. Very important. The last item on this particular slide is Vive. A majority of the initial interactions, I would assume, are going to be around term insurance, based on price, based on availability, age and amount, all very basic stuff. What you find, though, is that the term companies that are least expensive are also the most difficult to deal with, because they're really basing their entire relationship with you on price, which goes against what we believe as far as relationships are driven and what Sowell Insurance Services is building around. So Vive allows us to go in and rate the companies not only by price, but how is the internal workings of those companies actually producing policies. So instead of it taking something that could take 3 or 4 days to get a policy, we may find the least expensive company is 90 to 120 days. Well, you're gonna lose a relationship if it takes that long for a very simple transaction to take place. Vive gives you that extra information, and we're going to demo Vive as we go through a demo of the website here at the end of the presentation. Frank, do you want to take the white paper and branded tools?
Sure, absolutely. When we were putting the call together with Daryl and the team, a couple of things that came up were why Griffin and what makes us different. And this kind of goes back to our overarching relationship with Libra, is some of the things that we have access to that things that are available to us that aren't available to some other maybe smaller organizations as well. And these are two of the things. So the white papers, if you've ever been in a situation where we have a complicated case, we have an issue where there's either legal or tax precedent that's necessary, the carriers have a tremendous amount of information, specifically in many cases, white papers on articles that they've potentially written around some of these topics, whatever they may be. And on our side, we have access to them to provide to you to educate yourself, but also to potentially brand as well with Sowell. So they can be branded, and we have an agreement with a marketing company on the outside that is on essentially retainer to help recreate some of this stuff in the fiduciary world as well, that can be put out there for you to provide to your clients and to kind of market out to help grow your practice. And then also on just, you know, day-to-day type marketing stuff as well is also available to you, that can be branded specifically to you, your practice, and Sowell. And then on our side, we have the ability, one of the things that we do, and this is Sean, myself, David as well, Anna Marie, is to help you create a presentation. So if you're in a situation where you have to make a presentation to a client, and maybe it's something that you're not, you know, very, very familiar with, or it's not a presentation that you've gone through, or, you know, it's a protection sale and it's not your wheelhouse directly, you know, we can assist you in that, or we can walk you through exactly how to present it. And I spend a good portion of my day working with financial advisors and agents, going through presentations that we put together, illustrations that David's ran, and explain to them how to sell it. You know, this is the information, and this is how we sell, and that's something that we can do for you guys all day long. That's what we do.
Great. I'll take this one, Frank. So a lot of the items that we've talked about so far are things that would help in building your practice and expanding your interaction with the clients. It brings it all together because it's about training, it's about resources, it's about the capabilities that we can provide. But at the end of the day, the difference that we feel at Griffin that makes us different is that all of the people on the sales team have sold. And we're licensed in almost every state. I think we are licensed in every state. We can sit with you and a client. So we can be actually at a presentation conversation and help you along and hand off at some point to you, and then you take it further with the client. But that resource is available to you. A lot of our competitors just have a sales desk and you're calling in, and you have to have all of that capability and know-how to be able to move things along. We're going to be there with you, kind of walking you hand in hand through the process. And this is the process. So this is probably the most important slide that you're going to see throughout all of this, because this really explains what happens when we're going through a protection sale. So, you know, the first conversation is you're going to find clients that are actually doing and buying and purchasing insurance with someone other than you. That's just the way the business is. If you're concentrating on wealth management and you're not asking the questions about insurance, there's some other relationship happening there. So the first thing would be is to kind of reach out and find out if that's happening, why the insurance was purchased, what was the reason, and we can walk you through 5 or 6 questions that are impactful in that conversation. But if that's not the case, the first thing we want to do is determine the coverage. I would assume that in some cases, most of you or some of you are using some type of financial planning software. So on the left side, on the protection side of the plan, is determining how much coverage is needed. Having the conversation of what the client feels is appropriate, and then figuring out what kind of budget exists. We go out, we get quotes, we find out some initial medical information on the front end, giving us the ability to have a real-time idea of what could come back as far as a rating. There are a couple of different ways to fill out an application. There's the traditional way where it's paper and pen and you meet with the client. There are several different electronic versions of an application. And then there's, ever since COVID, a kind of a really push for what's called accelerated underwriting. So when someone's younger and clean and under $3 million of coverage, maybe under 50 years old, they go into a program where a small percentage get approved immediately, a bigger percentage get approved within a couple of days. This is without fluids or without medicals, just based on what's out there in digital databases. It's very hard in today's market to not have all the information, because the claims that have been paid, the prescriptions that have been written, all of those items are public information, so to speak, out in the medical marketplace. After all that's collected, it goes to underwriting. We work with the underwriters to get an approval and a policy issued. Once payment is made on the policy is put in force. When the policy is put in force, it's delivered to the client. And then the big part is being able to manage what happens after that. One of the things that we're going to provide to you is a system that allows you to manage in-force policies. This is another big step for us as a firm, because a lot of times once the policy is sold, not all policies fit in the existing information system that most advisors use. So we give you the opportunity to be able to go out and connect with those policies long term.
Hey, Sean.
Yeah.
We have a couple questions here, so I'll just break in and then let you get back to it here. But one of the first questions is a really great one, and that is, and he lists it as obvious question: what does this mean for the DPL partnership that we have? And to our advisor community, we have strong engagement with DPL. They've done a great job on the fee-based insurance side. We will continue that partnership moving forward. If you think about our insurance platform, right, we'll have two sides. The fee-based side, the commission-based side will be Griffin Distribution Partners, and we'll continue that partnership with DPL though moving forward as well. So great question.
Great. Yeah, we know DPL. We're on many other platforms with them, so we understand what they do. Darryl, were there any other questions that you wanted to field there, or you should just go straight through?
There are questions that are starting to come in now, which is great. So please keep them coming. There is another question on where are there PPLI options available?
Yes, PPLI is available, and those of you that follow PPLI, it's currently being looked at pretty vigorously by I think it's FINRA, the SEC, and the government as a whole. We'll just say the government as a whole. So they're looking at that, and we're following that. But there are opportunities that still exist.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that, Matt. We've spent a great deal of time building that out, not only with Griffin and their capability, but otherwise, because we have advisors in our platform that do quite a bit of work in that space. And then I'll also add, we've been working on, since Fidelity and Schwab have decided not to custody PPLI accounts, right? We've been working with other custodial relationships that will allow us to do that. And so for you all, it's not just the insurance side, but the asset management side is a huge opportunity for you to add that special function with your clients, as well as additional compensation out of that contract. So our team can manage those PPLI assets, and we have that capability as well. Certainly reach out to me and Affinity, or excuse me, and Griffin, and we can walk you through that.
Absolutely. Yeah, at the end of the day, we see PPLI as an investment opportunity because the insurance opportunity is small in relation. At this point, we were going to jump over into the website. So I'm gonna attempt to stop and reshare. So let's hopefully this goes really well. Was there a question? Thought I heard something.
There's nothing posted.
Okay, there we go.
John, while you're getting that up, I'll just let everybody know on the webinar as well. If you go to our Sowell Management website, so that's www.sowellmanagement.com, you scroll all the way to the very bottom on that home screen, you'll see to the very bottom right, Sowell Insurance Login, and you'll be able to, first of all, you have to log a profile there, but you'll be able to log into our website and tools that are available to you there. So just so you know how to navigate to that and how to get access to gated content there.
Great. All right. So I've successfully pulled this off, which I feel really good about. Even though we do this, you know, I don't know, 10, 15 times a week, for some reason, it's been a little bit snake bit. The site was down today. There was a giant storm where we are. So here we are at the website. So once you'll be all sent a link to be able to go in and log in and create a profile for the website. It's very simple. There's nothing special. You'll put an email and a password in there, and you'll be given access immediately. This will be the splash screen that you land on once you're logged in. It'll say Sowell Insurance Services, so you're in the right spot. The 6 major items that you're going to interact with are right on the splash screen. You could see here that this is basically the carrier and industry news is something that feeds automatically. So if you want to spend a minute and take a look at something there, there's another place on the website where you can go back and research those. If there's something you missed and you wanted to know when it happened, it's particularly in there. The first step for almost everybody that we're going to interact with is going to be around licensing and contracting. Most of the industry on our side of the world deals with something called SureLC. SureLC is a database that it doesn't matter where you might have been licensed prior in the insurance world. When you come to this particular place and you put in your credentials, it'll recognize you. It'll recognize some of the licenses you have and some of the CE that you've done. And this is the first place to start. If you've never been licensed or aren't currently licensed, this will be a little bit more blank in a sense. But the reality is that this will be the first place that we have our first interaction. Once you're licensed and appointed and we're ready to start moving forward, there is a place for you to go in and run some quotes, mostly term quotes. So I'm going to jump and actually time me out. So sorry about that. Okay. So this would be, very, very basic information here. So we're going to just pick what you need. It's not super complicated, and I'm going through it just to show you that it doesn't matter, 5 or 6 or maybe 8 points of information. This is the hardest part. So when you get to the part is, I don't know what rating there are. So here's what I'm going to really beg you all to do. Start with standard, because if you start anywhere else than standard, every conversation, 50% of the conversation you have from that point forward are going to be, well, it's a little more expensive. If you start with standard, 50% of the conversations you have are going to be that the price was a little bit less than what we thought. So I just think it's better to have positive conversations around that. Once you put that information in, quotes begin to pop up. We don't deal with companies that have any ratings issues or have been downgraded. So the companies that you see here are all good companies to do business with. If you'll notice, this one has a little green flyer here that says instant decision eligible. When you go in to hit apply here and you put in the information and that information flows over to the client to complete, there's a possibility that when they hit OK, there's a decision given to them right there that the policy's been approved. We have a fair amount of policies that are actually approved when that button is hit. So just understand it's not for the 60-year-olds and the 70-year-olds. It's really for the sub 35 and 40-year-olds that are going to see that information that way. One thing that we do provide for everyone is we have a forms database that includes every carrier that's available in the database. So there are going to be carriers in here that we don't even have a relationship with to sell their product, but because their forms are included in the national databases, iPipeline is the database, we provide them in here. So this is always a great place to go to be able to take a look at any forms you might need for business you've done in the past. Good resource for you. iGo is an e-application spot where you can start a new life insurance application. It looks a lot like the iGo quote system that I was on a couple of screens back, but this would be more where you've run the quote in the past, or you have a paper quote from David, but you want to go in and actually conduct an e-application. Other than New York and some limitations in California, most carriers have e-application capabilities. So by putting in a couple of bits of initial information and telling it to find an available products, it'll give you a suite of products that you can complete in the application. I will tell you, when you can, when it's possible, go with an e-application. Couple of things. One is, it's hard to miss something. It's hard to miss a form. It's hard not to complete all the information that the carrier needs. And that application goes out electronically to the client. The client fills out what they can fill out and comes back in an email. So the process eliminates a lot of the back and forth that kind of plague the underwriting process. Once you have policies in the system, when you click the case status, all of the underwriting of the cases that you have in working will show up here. You'll be able to see updates, what's happening, notes, and different things that we put in the system. This is not something you have to look at every day. One of the things that we drive around our relationship is we're going to reach out to you and tell you when action is needed. It's not going to be just an automated email that says, hey, it's Tuesday and we've emailed you every day for 25 days. It's not how we operate. We really want to be able to reach out to you when we need something. And in turn, if you get an email from Teresa or one of the team, know that something is needed. And just take a look at that email and respond and let us know what's possible and can you take care of that. The last item here on this list, and there are some other things at the top here, is Vive. And we'll probably do a little bit deeper dive into Vive as a separate call, because in Vive will tell you who's looking best. So I'm going to just do this quickly. I had all of this saved earlier today, but I think it timed out on us. Second here.
Replacement questions.
There we go. No
It's
reply.
replacement.
I've only done this 2,000 times in my life. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, so this is a great example. So I'm gonna sort these by price, and you're gonna see that principal is the least expensive of the scenario that we just ran. But you'll notice principal has the lowest score. So here's what it's telling you: that term policy with principal is not convertible. Product features are not as robust as some of the other offerings. Financial strength is great. Speed process is great. But if I go in and say, tell me who's best overall, we find that Prudential a little bit more expensive, but has a great conversion feature, full product, meaning long-term care riders are available. Their underwriting speed is good. They have accelerated underwriting. So this puts your positioning with the client differently than just price driven. This gives value to that client working with you, because you're giving them information that most other people are not sharing with them.
So Sean, that's a great tool. We have another question here. With the aging of our population, what are the long-term care or LTC options?
Most of the carriers today provide long-term care capabilities on an insurance contract. So there is an option to put a rider on life insurance. We believe that in most cases, that's the best option, because you're buying life insurance, you're using the death benefit of the life insurance for your long-term care coverage. In an asset-driven world, they're called hybrid products. So you'll have a different set of products that are investment-driven, where you'll put a lump sum or a stream of premiums in, and that'll give you a pool of money 2 to 3 times your investment and a reasonable rate of return. And then last but not least, there's only one carrier left, sells traditional long-term care, where you pay a premium. It is going to go up. We'll tell you that now. That company will eventually stop selling that product. So you can hear in what we're telling you that probably isn't the option. The other 2 options are probably the better options out there. There's lots of underwriting options as far as ratings. All different companies look at things a little bit differently. But we'll get the information and we'll be able to find a solution for that particular client, if there's a solution available.
Thank you. We just have a couple minutes left, so if there's any additional questions, I know Sean is starting to wrap up, but if you have any additional questions, if you wouldn't mind putting them in the chat, in the Q&A there, that would be great. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. So just in closing, we're excited here at Griffin. We're really looking forward to the one-on-one conversations, because that's really where the traction of what we do works. This is probably not the slickest presentation, and we're probably not the smoothest presenters you've ever talked to, but I promise you this: the minute we start talking about one of your clients and a situation, I promise you're not going to feel as if you made a bad decision. We're doing this. I'm doing this 34 years. There's really nothing else I've done in my adult life. I understand what's out there. Frank and I go back 25 years, almost 30 years, actually. Anna Maria and I go back 25 years. And it's something I've always said is that, you know, when we meet somebody new, one of the questions I ask them is, tell me about your oldest relationship that isn't related to you. And if that person can point out 8 or 10 people that they've known for 25 years plus, that's a great relationship. To us, that's really what we're all about. This is just a contact page. This will all be sent to everyone. So you don't, I mean, most people pick their phones up now and take a picture of it, but all this information will be sent out. Email addresses. That is my cell phone number that's on there. That is Frank's cell phone number that's on there. That is Teresa's cell phone number that's on there. The reason that's important is if we're not really going to be built on relationships, we would never, ever, ever give you our personal cell phone numbers. So you have it, use it. We go to sleep about 9 o'clock, you know, so just give us a little time. Other than that, we're always, you know, if there's an emergency, reach out. We're there.
Thank you very much, Sean, Frank, and the team there at Griffin. We're so just delighted to partner with you for our Sowell Insurance Services offering. Thank you to our advisor community for participating today. There is one last question. I'll answer it real quickly and we can go into detail. Do you have any comprehensive annuity services? And the answer is a resounding absolutely yes. So we'll have all those things for you, but hopefully you guys can see one of the reasons, again, that we picked Griffin is because they're relationship oriented. They want you to pick up the phone and call them for case design. But if you want to go make sure you're being a great fiduciary, shopping the market, you can drop a ticket digitally. Their underwriters will help make sure that you get the best rating for your client. And they've got all those capabilities, including your advanced case design as well and implementation. So that concludes our session today. Thanks again for being with us, everybody. We look forward to getting more out to you. Please reach out to the team at Griffin. You can also feel free to reach out to Evan Sowell on our business development team or myself. We're happy to answer any questions for you, including, I'm sure you'll have questions about compensation, and we have all that for you too, depending upon your insurance production. So have a great rest of your afternoon, everybody. Thanks again for joining us, and thanks again, Sean.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.